Okay. And ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm Kat.
I'm Hayley.
And this is Night Classy, a podcast where tipsy teachers teach fascinating lessons. Hashtag nailed it. What are we drinking, Hayley?
We are drinking the Modern Mimosa. They sent it to us. It's a little mimosa in a can.
Yeah.
Crack it open like a beer, but it's not a beer.
It's not a beer. And
It's
so
the Modern Mimosa.
it's called Modern Mimosa, and it's from Maine & Co. So thank you to them for sending us mimosas. That's badass.
Thanks, Maine & Co. And you know what? I still have a little bit of our cocktail from our previous recording session from like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, we just got done recording with Bonfire Babble. They're another amazing podcast, and they are our October number 2 Patreon substitute teachers.
Because October is the giving season for us.
Well, it's making up for lost time because
Kat,
we
no.
dropped the ball a couple months ago, but Alec came in clutch with a lesson on spooky sounds.
We sure did. And those sounds can only be heard on Patreon. So if you're interested in that and our lesson from Bonfire Babble, head on over to Patreon starting at $1. Do we bump it up now? $5 now.
Did we bump it up?
We're going to bump it up soon, nonetheless.
Beware, but if you're already in, you're going to stay in no matter what you started at.
Yes,
so
you're
don't fear.
Mothered in.
Ooh,
Grandmothered
I
in.
love that. And Bonfire Babble, by the way, taught us a lesson on alcohol in witchcraft.
So cool. I had no idea. So many things.
So many things. So
Don't want to give it away.
check out their podcast if you're a witch, if you're interested in being a witch. They do way better research than we do. And they're also teachers. Detta is a drama teacher and Corey is a yoga teacher. So teachers all around and talking about witchcraft. It's an awesome pod.
It is. Check them out. We had so much fun. And we've been drinking Jose Cuervo. So this lesson is going to be something.
Yeah. We're several shots in with the Jose Cuervo. Granted, over like a 2-hour span.
That is true. And our, I almost called it the alcoholizer.
Oh.
The breathalyzer is back.
It's back in business, baby.
Literally BAC. Back.
Blood alcohol content in business.
Turns out this whole time in the junk drawer, there were AA batteries.
If anyone had bothered to open the back of the breathalyzer and see what kind of batteries it needed 3 weeks earlier, we could have been using it. But
we're
that's
here
all right.
now. We're here now.
We made it. We'll talk about that in a moment. I do have, excuse me. Wow.
I do have
sorry.
a caboodle on my throat.
I do want to shout out Lisa of Worcester, Massachusetts for becoming a Patreon.
Yes, Lisa knew that we had some hot eps coming out on Patreon.
She did. She wanted to get in there. And she is also a teacher. She's a substitute teacher, though. So she is the MVP.
A really tough job.
Yeah, I would not, but I really applaud the people who do. That is a tough job. And we are very grateful for substitute teachers. We have not had any substitute teachers at my school all year, despite many teachers being gone. So I've been subbing on my planning periods every day. So I know a little bit about what Lisa's life is like.
Yes, I can only imagine. It's like normally I feel like a lot of teachers feel guilty for taking off, but especially this year.
Yeah, especially
just a complete shortage. They're not.
Yeah,
there.
there's no subs. And it's not my school's fault. It's not for lack of trying. There's just not enough subs because they're not paid very well for all the shit they put up with. So that needs to change so that we have subs.
Yeah, across the board of education.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
everybody.
It starts with subs and it trickles all around. So thank you, Lisa. We so appreciate you joining the team. And she, along with all of our other Patreons, can join us on October 29th.
I am so excited. Like, I love Halloween parties, but to have a Halloween party with everyone on Patreon, it's going to be different in the most amazing way.
It's going to be so much fun. We're planning our costumes, so please, if you attend, please come in a costume. It's optional. You don't have to, but it's strongly encouraged.
Yes, it is.
At the very least, like, throw on a witch hat, throw on some face paint, something.
Throw on your pretend ears and call yourself a cat, for God's sake.
Right. And if you're not going to dress up your pet. and hold them up to the camera.
Yes, that will also be accepted.
Yes, we may or may not be dressing up our pets. We have an array of costumes. The issue is getting
They
them
last.
on.
We can get them on. Whether or not they stay on for more than 10 seconds is the question.
Yeah. But definitely involve your pets in the Patreon.
We want to see all the pets, okay?
We do. And did we say what time that's going to be? It's going to be at 8 p.m.
7
Central.
p.m.
7 p.m.
We said, well, that's what I have in my calendar. Is it at 8 p.m.?
I thought it was at 8 p.m., but it could be at 7 p.m.
I'm fine with 8. I don't care. What is it? Someone decide.
All the previous ones have been at 8, so I assumed
let's
that's
do
what
it
it was going to be. Okay, so 8 p.m. Central. I feel like 8 p.m. is a good time because it's 9 on the East Coast, 7 on the West Coast. I feel like if it was at 6 p.m. on the West Coast is a little too early.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't
have
know.
to convince me.
Okay.
I'll be there.
And that leaves us more time after school because I get off at 4 and then there's quite the hustle happening to get home and eat dinner and put on a Halloween costume and do all that fun stuff.
There's so many things to decide. I think my school is doing we can dress up for Halloween that Friday. So I need to have a costume for school, a costume for that night, and then something for actual Halloween.
That's fun.
And then I think we have a guest episode coming up with What the Gays Say.
Yes.
That we're going to dress up for.
I can't fucking wait. The English teacher at my school is doing something cool with the 8th graders. They can sign up for a word from the dictionary, and she put together a list of words that most people don't know the definition to, kind of obscure words, and they can pick one and then they dress up as that on Friday, and I'm also going to do one.
How smart.
I don't know what my word is going to be yet, but
you just do a bunch of math words. You get graph.
no.
It should be the y-axis.
No, I'm not going to do that. I told her to pick me a word that means tired, and I'm going to wear my pajamas.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
That's so smart.
Such
Nailed it.
That was actually her idea. I took control of it, but who's to say it's not both of our ideas? Yeah. I'm going to wear my pajamas. I'm excited. I have a single matching set of pajamas, and I'm excited to wear them.
Is it the one you wore for Lefsa?
No, those are my Christmas pajamas.
Oh,
okay. So I guess I have more than a single set. I have one single set that's not holiday themed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Secular. Yes.
Yes. One. What do you call it? Not secular. Gentile. I have one Gentile set of pajamas.
Oh, all of my pajamas are just huge t-shirts.
Mine too, normally. A t-shirt and underwear is the jam, but yeah. I have one set of Target, satiny pajamas.
Yeah. I have a few of those I was rocking when we were hardcore in COVID.
Yeah, you stepped up your pajama game.
I did. I did.
Do you still wear them?
I will when it gets cold, but they're very hot, and I'm a hot sleeper.
Same, and even when it's cold, I like to kind of be I don't want to be too hot.
I want to be cold.
Bed. Yeah, exactly.
I would just love to sleep in a basement that has no windows, very cold, no sounds.
You can do that. We have a basement with no windows that's very cold and wet.
I didn't say I wanted to be scared.
We could transform our basement, I think, to be nice.
For who? Another possum?
That's true. We heard something crawling around in the walls the other day.
No.
Yeah, we heard it from inside our closet. It was inside the wall.
Not this again.
I know.
My
but
God.
haven't heard it since, so hopefully it left.
I saw a really good possum costume today
What?
on Pinterest.
You gotta be a possum.
I think I might be a different animal.
Oh, not a cat.
Not a cat.
Okay, good.
Not a possum.
Oh,
But
no.
another animal.
Is it a night classy reference?
Night classy-esque?
Ooh, is it a cryptid?
No.
Just an animal? Mm-hmm. A horse?
It's a normal, not a horse.
We already have the horse mask. You could be a horse.
I could. Been there, done that.
That's
or you
true.
were the horse.
I was the
You
horse,
were the-
naturally.
I was looking at squirrel masks.
Oh
you
my
can
God.
get a $12 huge squirrel tail on Amazon for $12.
Wow, you got to be a squirrel, but you got to order that shit stat so it's here for Halloween.
I'm thinking about it. It's going to
Yeah.
be here. It's
Okay.
going to be here.
Good.
I have
I'm
several ideas.
I'm excited for my costume. I'm
I
gonna
am too.
blow y'all out of the water. Just you wait.
Oh boy.
Very excited.
Well, now I can't be a squirrel because I told you.
Yeah, that's true. You ruined the surprise. But you said you're deciding between multiple things.
I
So
am,
even
I
if you
am.
come out as a squirrel, I'll still be surprised because I don't know for sure that that's what you're going to do.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned for that on this podcast where you
tuned.
can't see us anyway.
Well, they'll see us when we do our show.
That's true.
Not our show, our hangout on Zoom.
Yeah.
on Patreon.
So join Patreon
Yeah.
to see that shit show.
Please do. I don't have anything except the fact that like I'm really fucking sore from riding a horse yesterday.
Oh, okay.
My inner thighs are dying.
Very confused. Yeah, that's why I don't like riding horses. It hurt everything.
Yeah, it takes some getting used to for sure.
Yeah.
And my body was not ready.
Just have really calloused inner thighs.
No, it doesn't make your skin chapped, but like it definitely like stretches out your legs in a way that's unnatural.
Yeah, you start
me.
walking bow-legged.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a true cowboy.
We are on fall break, so
Yes.
we'll be. I'll be relaxing. You're going to Florida.
Well, I'll be relaxing too, but by the beach.
Yeah.
So suck my ass.
different. So
Yeah, I'm leaving
feel-
tomorrow. I'm very excited.
you should be.
I am. I'm
Just
super,
gonna be here.
Super excited.
Just think of me, I guess. While
You
I
can come too. You
feed
want to
your
come?
cats. No, I have to save money. We're going to NYC for Christmas.
That's
so
true. That'll be fun. I'm gonna crash that party.
You should. You should definitely come.
I will.
It'd be
Just kidding.
fantastic.
I won't. My mom would literally murder me if I missed Christmas a second year in a row.
Next time. Next time.
Next time.
That's all I have though. My life has been quite boring.
Mine too. I've just been so done this week. This whole week I've just been buying worksheets off Teachers Pay Teachers and giving the kids shit to do because I'm like I'm burnt. Like I was just in the mind of break all week. I mean, I still
Yeah.
did my job and taught a little bit, but like I didn't go hard. I was done.
Of course. The kids aren't going to go hard either. So.
And it's the end of the quarter. Like it's like grades were due on Tuesday, and then I can't put grades in until next Monday. So I'm like, nothing we do this week counts.
Yeah,
Like,
screw it.
just
We're
gonna
here
screw
now.
it.
We're on
Yeah.
fall break. We're freaking ready. And apparently we need to get this show on the road. Alec isn't even telling us. I just sense it. And I know that you have a long lesson
I have a
ahead of us.
long AF lesson.
Thank you,
so
Hayley.
You're welcome.
I don't even have to say anything now.
Go ahead and do yours. Oh, we breathalyzed.
We did. I blew a .021.
And I blew a .012.
All right. You ready?
Yes.
So Florence and John Pollock met in the 1940s and they got married shortly after. Florence converted to Catholicism right before they got married. John had been a Catholic his entire life, but that could be a loose interpretation due to his interest in spiritualism and the occult. They had 2 sons and eventually had 2 more daughters, Joanna and Jacqueline. And their kids were raised mostly by their maternal grandmother because their parents owned a grocery store and did dairy deliveries like all over town. So their parents were always out doing milk stuff. And Joanna and Jacqueline got along very well. They were very close. Joanna always wanted to take care of Jacqueline. They would do these little shows and performances. They loved to play pretend. And they had a generally regular upbringing. Joanna would always say, though, that she would never grow up and that she would always be a kid.
Ooh.
And you
I
can
say
be
that
like-
too.
Yeah, you say that too, but you're grown.
That's true. It's too late for me.
Yeah, so they just thought, oh, she just wants to be a kid forever. We don't really know what to make of that. Seems normal. But on May 7th, 1957, Joanna was 11 and Jacqueline was 6 years old. The girls were walking to church with one of their neighbor friends who was a boy, and a car, we don't know if it was purposeful or not, but it hit the children.
Oh my God.
Going very fast. There was
All
no
3 of
braking.
them?
All 3 of them. All of them died. The girls died at the scene, and the boy died either at the hospital or on the way to the hospital. And the woman who was driving was a mother who had just lost custody of her own children. And she had, when they did, they tested her blood and stuff because she survived. She had a lot of aspirin in her system, and she had a whole other concoction of other drugs. So it's unclear whether it was on purpose or not. Some people think that she just didn't see the kids and was kind of in a drug-induced daze.
That seems more likely.
Yeah, but some people are like, no, she was like, if I can't have my kids, then nobody can have kids type thing.
Like, seems like a stretch.
Yeah.
Like, I get hating on this woman because she killed 3 children, but like,
who knows?
Yeah.
Thankfully, she goes to trial for this and was sentenced to stay in a mental ward. But that doesn't bring the kids back. Florence was obviously fucking devastated to find out about the death of her girls. She went into a deep, long depression. John took it a little bit better. He relied on his spirituality and he just had faith that the girls were okay and that they were in heaven or they would be reincarnated. He started to have dreams about the girls and it was really comforting to him. But when he would tell it to his wife, she would just not want to hear it. It would drive her even further into her depression.
yeah.
John also started to feel a presence in their bedroom. Whenever he would go in there, he would just feel like he wasn't alone, even if he was the only one in there. And despite being raised a Catholic, he was fascinated by reincarnation from a very young age. He felt like maybe he could bring his girls back. So he started praying to God to give him some evidence of reincarnation to bring back his girls some way. He was determined to show Catholics and Catholic priests and even his own wife, who did not believe in any of that, that it could happen and that there was room for reincarnation within Catholicism. Florence was, like I said, not about that. She stuck to the books, but eventually John thought that maybe God was punishing him for believing in reincarnation, and that's why he took his girls from him in the first place.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's
That's a heavy
just
assumption.
turmoil. Yeah. So he starts blaming himself, but then he started having these dreams about these girls being born into their family, and he felt like he was kind of reliving their births. And when he told Florence, his wife, this, she was like, no, you're bonkers. And it created this rift in their relationship. They grew further and further apart. Florence was so depressed, she eventually stopped believing in anything at all and abandoned her faith. The couple almost got divorced, but that D was too good. They settled their differences and Florence became pregnant again. And John's like, oh yeah, here we go.
Oh no.
Thank you, God. I have impregnated my wife with 2 babies. And the doctor's like, nope, just 1 baby. And John's like, 2 babies. Yes, 2 babies, my daughters. And the doctor's like, no, John, there's 1 in here. No matter what the doctor told him, how many heartbeats they detected, which was 1, John was convinced that there were 2 babies in there. He's obviously set on this idea of his children being reincarnated. The entire pregnancy, the doctor stood by his assessment that there was a single baby in the womb until the day Florence gave birth. On October 4th, 1958, Florence gave birth to twin girls. Everyone's like, whoa, whoa. And John's like, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I told you so.
I didn't say it. You said it. You said it. You said it with your eyes.
I didn't even have to say it.
Yeah.
They said it. They had a theme with their children's names that sound. So they named the twins Jennifer and Jillian. And John is like, look at you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God.
Jillian and Jod. For God.
Well, Jillian is spelled with a G, so I guess it could be Gillian.
It's probably Jillian, but like, why would you have a J theme? Name your child a J name and then spell it with a G.
They're just trying to be different. They just don't want it to happen again.
It's like spelled some fucked up way, like JILLEIGHYN. Jillian.
GH. Yes. Florence was just like, shut up, John. Enough with this reincarnation bullshit. Like, we have twin girls. Can you help us with something? Please get them their bottles. But her disbelief did start to chip away. when she realized the twins had the exact same birthmarks in the exact same spots as Joanna and Jacqueline.
Ooh.
At 3 years old, the now deceased Jacqueline had fallen on a bucket, landed like on her head on a bucket, and a scar was left on her eyebrow. Well, this newborn baby, Jennifer, had a white mark in the same spot on her eyebrow that Jacqueline had developed when she was 3 years old. Jacqueline also had a round birthmark on the left side of her waist, and Jennifer had the same birthmark on her waist. The family ends up moving from Hexham to Whitley Bay as a new beginning, away from where that tragic accident took place almost 2 years ago. The twins are now 9 months old. And once the twins are old enough to talk, they started asking to play with toys that they had never played with or seen in their lifetime. But guess who had played with them and had seen them in their lifetimes?
Jacqueline and
Joanna.
Jod.
The toys had been tucked away into the attic. I'm sure it's one of those like, this is too painful. And trauma boxes type things.
Do you know what kind of toys it was?
Yeah, there were dolls, actually. John and Florence went to the attic and brought the toys out, and the girls started calling the dolls by their names that their older sisters had named them and assigning them to each other just the same as Joanna and Jacqueline had done.
Wow.
Yes, they seemed to have an understanding of whose toy was whose, which ones were their favorites. And at this point, these twins didn't even know that they had older sisters who had passed away. Their parents had chosen not to tell them yet. The twins also shared a lot of the same things with their older sisters, including their favorite foods, personalities, mannerisms, the way they walked, and their body types. Jennifer was stocky and looked a lot like Jacqueline, and Jillian was slender and looked more like Joanna. Jacqueline always struggled. This one is kind of a stretch, but Jacqueline always struggled to hold a pencil and tended to use a fist grasp. And Jennifer did the same thing.
Like all other small children.
Yeah, that's just a developmental thing. It would be different. I don't know how long Jennifer did that for. You know, if you're like 4 years old and you're using that grasp, that's concerning. But who knows if they were still about 3 years old. But Jillian also acted as a mother figure to Jennifer, just as Joanna had done for Jacqueline. And they both loved, this again is a stretch, but they loved creating and acting and doing these performances for people, just like their older sisters had. Florence was always skeptical, but did admit it was weird to overhear the twins talking one time about their own deaths. They would talk about it in detail about the car accident that they did not experience and didn't even know about. They would like act out being like bleeding.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's concerning.
John also heard them talking about their deaths in the accident in past tense. There's a part here where I go into more detail about it. But the twins are now 4 years old, and the family goes back to visit Hexham for the first time after leaving. And the twins started asking to go to a park, and they were specifically describing it and asking to go on the swings. The park they were referring to was on the other side of town. They had never been to it, but of course, Jacqueline and Joanna had loved that park and been there many times when they were alive. And when they passed the school that Jacqueline and Joanna had once attended, the twins also believed that that was their school. This is their first time since they were like 9 months old being in this city. The twins were super afraid of cars. They practiced extreme road safety. You know, you didn't have to tell these girls to hold your hand when you were crossing the street, even to the point that when they heard a car start or if a car made a weird noise, they would become really scared and say things like, "Oh no, the car is coming for us." Yeah.
That's awful.
It's super awful. So as it does, word spreads that there's something going on with the Pollock twins. Some sources say that along with their normal make-believe play, they would do that thing I was talking about just a minute ago. where Jennifer would lay her head in Jillian's lap and Jillian would explain to her, there's blood coming from your eyes. It's because of the car. And like, that was just,
Can you imagine being the parents? I acted up. I feel like I was a morbid child and I'd act out like dying and shit all the time, but like there's blood coming from your eyes.
No, there's not. Let's stop playing this game right away. I didn't do, that I know of, do any of that. Like I pretended to be a witch, but I wasn't doing this stuff.
My cousin Amara, and I hope she listens to this episode, but one time I was younger. I think I'm like 4 years younger than her, and I looked up to her a lot. So like I'd believe anything she told me. And she was telling me about like, she's telling like a scary story, like trying to scare me. And she talked about how like a dog died and then like its eyeball fell out of its head and like rolled toward me and just like describing this stuff happening. And it freaked me the fuck out, and I was like crying and I told on her to my grandma, and like I just had a meltdown. I was a huge bitch. And then she went under the table in the computer room and she wrote, "I hate Katya" under the table. And you can still see it under there to this day.
Oh my God, I love that. That needs to go in like your family trust. The bottom, no matter what happens to the computer or the desk or anything, keep that section of it. That is so
At least that's how I
good.
remember things. I'm pretty sure it's still under there because I think I saw it like a few years ago. But yeah, that was like my morbid childhood storytelling experience.
My stepsister pissed me off. I must have been in like third grade or something, but it was on Thanksgiving and I don't know what she did, but I went downstairs and in our basement, it was like a little hideout for the kids under the stairs that had a door and everything and little like string lights, whatever. But I wrote on the walls of it, it was just like plywood, but I wrote her name, B, I don't know if she wants me saying her name or not, but B smells like ham. Yeah, it was ham. And she's a vegetarian now, so I'm sure that
It made it quite
highly
the mark.
offensive. Yeah. It's really cutting her to the bone.
Oh my gosh, she smells like a ham, as if that's the worst thing you can come up with.
Yeah, it was PG
pretty
back
bad.
then. So we were definitely not at the same level as fucking Jennifer and Jillian. In 1963, psychologist Ian Stevenson contacted Florence and John and asked to meet the twins. They agreed. He interviewed the parents, took notes, examined their birthmarks, and talked to the girls about their lives. Back then, it was still believed that that twins had the exact same genes, and they figured they would have the same birthmarks. So they're like, "Whoa, that's bizarre. They have the same birthmarks as their sisters, but not each other. What does it mean?"
What does it mean? Also, they didn't look alike.
Well,
Right?
they looked like physically their stature was a bit different. I think that happened over time as they got older. But
Okay.
Alec, you could look up a picture. If you just type in the Pollock twins, they are striking, I would say. They do look quite a lot alike at a young age.
But they were identical.
They were identical.
Oh,
yes.
okay. Ooh, they're creepy as fuck.
Striking.
Yeah, they're like they have like dark hair and like bangs, but then really light eyes. And in this picture, they're dressed like little
Pilgrims.
pilgrims. Yeah, and it's black and white.
Yeah, they look like the Shining girls.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. It wouldn't be until the girls turned 13 years old that they started to talk to them about reincarnation. But after they turned 5 years old, all of these weird memories and instances just kind of went away. Dr. Stevenson met with them a couple of times, again in 1967. But by this time, the girls had pretty much lost their past life memories. Until 1981, Jillian started to have these visions and these lucid dreams. She was playing with her sister in a sandbox in the town of Wickham. And she would describe it perfectly, despite having never been there. What she was describing was the sandbox that her older sisters had once played in many times before they had died.
Weird.
Their case inspired Dr. Stevenson to delve. He was really interested in reincarnation. He wrote a case report on the twins. It would go on to write over 10 books on reincarnation. They ended up leading a completely normal life. They don't really have any more memories of their possible past lives, but that is the mysterious story of the Pollock twins.
Wow, that is very mysterious.
I know, right? I think reincarnation is real.
Oh,
I'm a believer.
I'm 100% a believer. Like if I believe it, I don't have like a strong system of beliefs in that way.
Very
but like,
loose.
It's very loose, but like that's something I'm like pretty on board with.
Yeah, I would say that I'm open. That's my
Yeah. I'm more than
Open for
open.
business.
I feel like if we go somewhere after we die besides just being dead, I feel like that's a pretty good bet.
Yeah, I do too.
I could see it.
I mean, are we really going to create a new soul every time someone's born?
That's just extra.
No, that's
we
extra.
We don't have to do that much.
That's way too much work. Maybe that's why some people are just kind of like, I don't want to say, never mind. I was going to say some people are just like
stupid
deficits.
Oh,
in deficit of, maybe they have bad morals or maybe they're just bad people. Maybe they just didn't have like a whole soul. Maybe a soul started to get split up.
interesting.
You're going to tell me Hitler had a whole soul?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I thought you were going to say like it makes sense why some people are so dumb because they're like new soul. Like they haven't lived many lives.
That could be too.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're not a whole thing. I don't know.
Just a partial soul. They're like a Horcrux.
What is a Horcrux?
Oh my God, I forgot that you don't know.
Harry Potter?
Yeah. Voldemort splits his soul into pieces so that if like he's killed, his soul will live on.
Oh, okay.
And like he's a bad guy. So like maybe like bad guys are just like a piece of a soul. And like the more you you have to do something really bad to split your soul, like kill someone.
Oh my
and
God.
so like every time you split your soul, like your soul is like getting worse and worse and worse. And there you go.
Really bad.
Yeah, he's really
Maybe
bad.
I'm onto something. Who knows? Okay, well, my sources are a video on this by Kendall Ray on YouTube. Does the strange case of Pollock twins prove reincarnation is real? By the Occult Museum, unsolvedmysteries.fandom.com, and paranorms.com. Also, I realized in my research that Drinking the Kool-Aid also did an episode on this. So if y'all listen, we did an episode crossovers with them. They're a great little podcast. And Drinking the Kool-Aid, if you hear this, I didn't mean to copy your lesson. Sorry, bye.
She totally meant to copy you. She's a bitch.
A huge bitch. And I'm going to lie about it too. All right. That's all I've got.
All right. Thank you, Hayley. We'll be right back. So I am going to the airport tomorrow, and I know exactly what the fuck I'm wearing. Do you know what I'm wearing? Crocs. No.
Damn.
Except I should. Never mind. Sidebar. We don't need it here. This is an ad for our thing, not Crocs. I'm going to wear my Night Classy University sweatshirt.
Oh, duh. That's a given. I thought you were talking just footwear.
No, we're not talking about footwear. We don't have any footwear, but if you're interested in upper body wear, we do have sweatshirts and t-shirts.
I think it's the perfect time to invest in a good sweatshirt. We have that. It's a nice, light gray. It says Night Classy University because hopefully every week we teach you something new. Like you stay learning here at Night Classy University. It's so comfortable. It's a Champion brand, and for some reason I always spill coffee on mine, but it comes right out. So whenever there's not coffee spilt on it, I'm pretty much wearing it.
It's a heathered gray, so if you are gonna spill on it, it kind of blends in.
Yeah, you can blend it.
That's the
Blend
good
it
part
out.
about
Blend
it.
it out.
And the words are wine colored, so you could spill wine directly onto the lettering and you'll be good to go. It won't be a big deal. So if you would like a sweatshirt, go to parasaur.co, or you can follow the link in the show notes or on any of our social media and get yourself one. And if you're a Patreon, you get a discount. So look on Patreon for that discount code.
Do it. You'll love it. We made it just for you.
Hi.
We're rolling.
All right. Thankfully, now Alex hit record so everyone can hear how mean Hayley and Alec are to me.
Oh my God.
They're super rude, and now I don't even feel like I want to do my lesson.
Shut up. You lit a candle and everything. Drama.
I dimmed the lights and lit a candle because on top of my best friend and my boyfriend being mean to me, the scariest
Who's
thing,
mean to who?
You are mean to me.
Your alter ego is called Claudia Severa.
But I am not my alter ego.
And I'm
I'm a
Holly Sancha.
sensitive young Daisy, and you've wilted me.
I can't believe you. You're a Black Dahlia.
They're just so mean. Hayley goes, I don't think she ever knows what people are saying.
I said, I don't think you ever know what we're saying.
That's not what you said.
So many
That may have been what
times.
you meant. That's not what you said.
So many times I tried to make a joke or say something. You're like, but the whatever. And I'm like, oh my God.
Maybe you just don't make sense. I'll go ahead and say it.
And I got gaslit earlier, so
No.
I'm just trying to settle the score.
Gaslit here earlier today.
Here, about the breathalyzer.
Okay. By the way, Alec loves to talk shit on the breathalyzer, and I told him that when he talks shit on the breathalyzer, I feel like he's talking shit on me.
Yeah,
Because it was my idea.
Love the breathalyzer.
I agree, and I love the breathalyzer. And how dare you? First of all,
Well, I
And
just
second
want
of
to
all, how
cue
dare you?
the audience in that usually Hayley ends up going first because of the breathalyzer. So as the producer of the show,
What are you saying about me?
Yeah, why can't she go first?
because it's better when you guys go back and forth.
Is it? I feel like it doesn't matter at all.
We could just stick to it, and that's why we drink.
Stick to one of you going first.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Which would also get
we
rid of the
need the breathalyzer. You are being mean again.
What? No, I didn't
Yeah.
mean to.
Yeah. I just bared my soul about how I am the breathalyzer and the breathalyzer is me. And
You
now
just-
you want to get rid of it.
You just want someone to blow you twice a week, every week.
Just take the
Okay.
batteries out of the breathalyzer, if you know what I mean.
I bet Alec stole the batteries from the breathalyzer, and that's why we haven't had it for 3 weeks.
Oh my God. It's been more than 3 weeks. It
All
was
right.
still summer when we did the
Oh,
breathalyzer
no.
last.
That's depressing. I'm sorry, guys. And I'm mostly sorry to myself.
That's like what you say to yourself every night.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, self, for all the trauma you had to endure today.
For having Hayley as your best friend and
You
Alec as
hold-
your boyfriend. I should never have brought them into your life.
You hold the mirror and give a little kiss on the forehead every night.
I told you I'm a sensitive young flower. Okay.
You're
I'm
done
sorry,
being
everyone.
wilted.
I'm done.
You wilted little
That was
bitch.
so dramatic. But I'm not done being dramatic. So I set out to find the scariest story I possibly could. I think I freaking nailed it, which is why I dimmed the lights and lit a candle because it's story time, bitches.
Oh, I'm scared.
Me, Shumbeam. I got literally all of my information from an amazing article on The Cut by Reeves Viederman, and I'll tell you the title at the end. I did try to research elsewhere, but this was this is the most exhaustive article on this on the internet. So any other article had information
the same
from
thing.
this article, yeah, and it was amazing. It was super freaking long, which is why I wrote 8.5 pages. So buckle in. She,
honey.
all right.
I'm hip.
I am young.
Shoo fly.
She fly, don't bother me.
Okay. Our story takes place in Westfield, New Jersey. And Westfield is an idyllic, wealthy community. So it's lined with mansions, manicured lawns, HOAs, beautiful
What
trees,
is a HOA?
homeowners associations.
What you call me?
Shut up, Hoa. It's just very nice. It was ranked the 99th richest city in America and the 18th richest in New Jersey. So apparently New Jersey is a rich state. The median household income is $170,798. I said that weird. $170,798. And in 2014, it was listed as one of the top 30 safest communities in America. So it's nice.
Yeah, isn't New Jersey just like a suburb of NYC?
Yeah, pretty much, which is why
That's the
so many
whole
people, with money live there. And so, like, it's safe, it's nice. For all of these reasons, the Broaddus family was not expecting the sheer terror they would have to endure after buying their $1.3 million dream house in Westfield on 657 Boulevard. The Broadduses were your, quote-unquote, typical suburban American family. The mom, Maria, had grown up in Westfield and was familiar with the area and the community. She'd kind of been there her whole life. Her husband, Derek Broaddus, on the other hand, he was from a sort of a different background. He was from a working class family in Maine, but he'd been really successful in business. And at the time of the home's purchase, he was a senior vice president at an insurance company in Manhattan. So
When was this?
this is in 2014.
Okay. Oh, recent.
Very recent. And Derek at this time had just turned 40 when they bought their 6-bedroom mansion in Westfield. It was a beautiful old mansion, and we can look at pictures of it later if you want. It was built in 1905, and it was on like one of the most desirable streets in town historically. So this was kind of the street with all the like really old money, old mansions. They were really excited. They immediately went in and started making renovations. They didn't move in right away. They were kind of having contractors out because it was an old house. They wanted to get it up to their standards and nice for their 3 young children.
Ugh.
Ugh, to
Sounds
what?
awful. 3 young children?
Yeah, that sounds like a lot. But they're rich, so I'm sure they had help.
6-bedroom mansion sounds fine.
It sounds nice.
Just
I'd take
disperse them. Yeah. Dilute
Spread
the children
them around the house. Put them all in 1 bedroom in the attic, and then just kidding. That's
there's
mean.
a child's wing.
A child's wing. There you go. That works. Derek was at the home one evening. He was finishing up painting some of the walls, and he went outside and checked the mailbox. Inside the mailbox was a thick white card envelope that had no return address. It was addressed to the new owner. It began pretty nicely. It said, "Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood." It went on, 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now. And as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out.
What?
And it goes on. It says, I see you've already flooded 657 Boulevard with contractors so you can destroy the house and what is it supposed to be. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Bad move. You don't want to make 657 Boulevard unhappy.
Oh, no.
It goes on to mention the Broaddus' Honda minivan and the workers working on the renovation. It mentioned the children. It said, you have 3 children. I have seen them. Oh, I'm sorry. It said, you have children. I have seen them. So far, I think there are 3 that I have counted. And the writer was apparently happy that there were children in the house. It said, I asked the Woods to bring me young blood, and it looks like they have listened. Do you need to fill the house with the young blood I requested? Better for me. Was your old house too small for your growing family, or was it greed to bring me your children? Once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me.
I am shooketh.
Yeah.
Every part of this is scary. Like, all you had to say was envelope in the mailbox with no return address. That was a no from me from the get-go.
Yeah.
The rest of this is just fluff, really.
Yeah. And like you just said, there was no return address. Inside it read, who am I? There are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard each day. Maybe I am in one. Look out any of the many windows on 657 Boulevard at all the people who stroll by each day. Maybe I am one. "Welcome, my friends. Welcome. Let the party begin." And they signed it, "The Watcher."
Ew. Ew.
Isn't that so
I
fucked up?
hate it.
Yeah.
Do we get to learn about the history of the house?
It's just
Is
an
there
old
a
house.
history?
I don't know. We can keep going on with this lesson. I don't know.
Good. I was
don't know.
hoping we might do that.
To be honest, I don't know. Who knows what this person is referencing? So Derek read this letter and he fucking panicked. It was 10 p.m. at this point. It was dark outside. He ran through the house. He turned off all the lights so nobody could see inside. He's like freaking out. He calls the police and they come over. He hands the letter to them and has them read it. The responding officer said, quote, "What the fuck is this?" Which is exactly what I would say. He asked Derek if he and his family had any enemies. They didn't. And the officer recommended that they move. There was like some construction equipment in the yard. And he said you should move that like away from the house in case someone decides to throw it through the window and break in. Oh. So that was comforting, I'm sure. But other than that, there wasn't much they could do. Like they had this letter. They were like, oh, like, just go home. Like, we'll deal with this in the morning. This is weird, right? Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
That night, he and Maria wrote an email to the previous owner of the house, Andrea Woods. So Woods is the last name of the previous owner. And if you recall in the letter, he said,
yes.
I asked the Woods to bring me young blood. So they're
I
like,
thought he was like literally he's like
talking about the woods. That would have been scarier. That's what I thought the first time I read it. But he's referring to the previous owner and they emailed her. They're like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? Do you know anything about this? And they had lived in this house for 23 years. They never received a letter from the Watcher until a few days before moving out. They got a letter a lot like the one that the Broadduses received. And they recall that it was odd and it mentioned that the Watcher had watched the house for generations, but they kind of just thought it was like a crazy person like leaving shit in their mailbox. They didn't think much of it and they had thrown the letter away.
Oh, why?
I know. Why? Like that
Do
to
not
me is
throw
so
that
weird.
away.
Yeah, do not. I'd be so fucking scared. I don't
would
know
have
that
called
I would
the cops
call
then. Well, maybe not. But
I would call the cops if I was Derek because the letter threatened his kids.
yeah,
But-
knowing what I know now.
Yeah, but they just thought it was like kind of weird and they hadn't thought about it anymore. Nevertheless, the next day, Andrea agreed to go with Maria to the police station and talk to detectives. The detectives told the women not to tell any of the neighbors about the letters because they were opening an investigation. So all the neighbors were now technically suspects. They didn't want anyone to know, what was going on to, sway what they were saying. So the police were starting this investigation, and obviously in the meantime, the Broadduses were really scared. Derek decided not to go on a business trip, and he'd stay home with his family. They did bring the kids to the house because, they were still having to go to this house all the time and work on it. But they didn't, they let the kids play outside, but didn't let them get too close to the edges of the yard.
So they hadn't moved in yet.
They had not moved in. They're still doing the renovations and living in their current home.
Okay. I would install cameras. Right away.
And I think they did eventually. I don't think they did right away. They're kind of just testing it out. And apparently Maria would yell at the kids whenever they got too close to the edge of the yard. So she was yelling their names a lot.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's don't do that in this scenario. Don't get backpacks with your kid's name on them. Anything out in public, don't put their fucking name on it.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's something you don't really think about, but until something like this happens to you. I would never think about not, it's not yelling my kids' names outside. You yell
you don't
kids'
even
names
think
all the
about
time.
that.
You don't think about it. On one of these days where they were just hanging out at the house, working with the contractors, they gave a tour of the house to a neighbor. And the neighbor remarked, "It'll be nice to have some young blood in the neighborhood." This freaked them out. They were shook, but it turned out to most likely be nothing, just a coincidence. It's a common phrase, but they're on high alert now. Everything seems suspicious to them. One morning, the contractor arrived at the house to find a heavy sign he'd hammered in the front yard. So, like, you know how, like, when people are working on houses, they'll put, like, their
Produced
advertisement. Yes, exactly. And it was, like, a big sign. It had been torn out overnight. And, like, why would you steal a contractor's sign? It just seemed off.
Because you don't want any changes in the house.
Exactly. 2 weeks after the first letter, Maria was at the house, and she checked the mailbox. Inside, there was a card-shaped envelope, again with that thick black lettering. She didn't open it. She immediately called the police. When the police came, they opened the letter, and the letter read, "Welcome again to your new home at 657 Boulevard. The workers have been busy, and I have been watching you unload cartfuls of your personal belongings. The dumpster is a nice touch. Have they found what's in the walls yet? In time, they will." And this time, the letter was addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Broaddus. The person now knew their name. It also listed their children's names in birth order and their nicknames, kind of like taunting them, showing how closely they've been listening.
If they would have installed cameras, that first letter,
Yeah.
they would
You gotta
know.
have a mailbox cam.
Oh, well, it's from the post office. The postman is delivering them.
Oh, I thought you couldn't even send letters without having a return address.
No, you can. It just won't come back to you if it's not delivered.
Oh.
Yeah. So they're being delivered by the postman. Otherwise, it would probably be pretty easy to catch this person.
Yeah.
The letter went on. It said, "I am pleased to know your names and now the names of the young blood that you have brought me. You certainly say their names often." It also mentioned seeing one of the children like painting on an easel on the back porch. And it asked, "Is she the artist in your family?" And then it went on, 657 Boulevard is anxious for you to move in. And I'm sorry, this is a pretty long quote, but it's creepy as fuck. So I'm going to read the whole thing. It says, 657 Boulevard is anxious for you to move in. It has been years and years since the young blood ruled the hallways of this house. Have you found all the secrets it holds yet? Will the young blood play in the basement, or are they too afraid to go down there alone? I would be very afraid if I were them. It is far away from the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream.
Oh, no. Now I really don't want to sleep in our basement.
know, don't do it. Will they sleep in the attic, or will you all sleep on the second floor? Who will have the bedrooms facing the street? I'll know as soon as you move in. It will help me know who is in which bedroom. Then I can plan better. All of the windows and doors in 657 Boulevard allow me to watch you and track you as you move through the house. Who am I? I am the Watcher, and I have been in control of 657 Boulevard for the better part of 2 decades now. The Woods family turned it over to you. It was their time to move on and kindly sold it when I asked them to. I pass by many times a day. 657 Boulevard is my job, my life, my obsession. And now you too, Broaddus family. Welcome to the product of your greed. Greed is what brought the past 3 families to 657 Boulevard, and now it has brought you to me. Have a happy move-in day. You know I will be watching.
What in the world? It's just some Karen on the street who doesn't like them.
Honestly, probably, but like it's still so fucking weird and creepy.
Ew.
Yeah.
I hate it. They should make a TV show about this.
They are. Netflix is making one.
I was going to say this oddly reminds me of Dirty John. I know it has nothing to do with it, but like the way the letters are written. I don't know. It just
I don't know what
reminds me.
Dirty John is.
Dirty John is a TV show. It changes every season. But it's about like shitty guys, basically. Or just shitty situations probably is more accurate. But the last one was about like this guy who cheated on his wife and the family and just how it all unfolded. She ends up like killing them all. It happened in like the 80s and
it's a real story.
They're all real stories, like
shit.
true crime. Yeah, and they're like Dirty Johns.
That's creepy.
Yeah, you would like it. You should watch it.
I probably would. I will. But yeah, so this time the letter like directly threatened the children, like saying like no one will hear them scream, all that shit. So the Broadduses were like fucking done. They stopped bringing their kids to the house. They themselves started kind of avoiding the house, not going there as frequently, and also now they weren't really sure if they wanted to move in.
Oh yeah, I'd be like, never mind. I don't really want it that bad.
That's kind of what they were thinking, but also it's a $1.3 million house that they had closed on. So like, what are you gonna do?
Sell it.
You can try.
Yeah, it's sold once, it'll sell
that's
again.
True, I guess. They tried. The watcher noticed now that they were avoiding the house and sent a third letter asking, "Where have you gone to?" and saying that 657 Boulevard is missing you. And by now, like, it had been a few weeks. The chase was on. People are trying to figure out who is the watcher. They still hadn't told any of the neighbors, but police were working on it. You know, they didn't have a lot to go off of, but they were trying. When the Broadduses bought the house, there was a lot of competition over it. It was a really desirable house on a desirable street, and there were several offers above listing price. So initially, police suspected that maybe this is someone who had lost the bid and was angry. But that turned out not to be the case because there were two other bidders and one had backed out already, like before the Broadduses, over a medical issue, and the other had found another house like around the same time of the sale that they wanted more. Mm-hmm. So this theory didn't hold much water. But regardless, whoever is sending these letters most likely lived close by. Like, they clearly actually were watching the house. If they know everybody's name, they know what's going on. And the letters had been processed at the U.S. Postal Service's distribution center in northern New Jersey, close by this neighborhood. The first letter was even postmarked on June 4th, and June 4th was before the sale of this house was made public, and it was already addressed to the new owners.
Ew, is it the dad?
I don't know. And
it's an inside job.
It was even like before contractors had arrived to the house. And what's more, the house had never even had a for sale sign in its yard. It would be tacky. And it's really like, how would this person even know, unless they were close?
Yeah.
Also, this is a quiet neighborhood and the Broadduses were doing construction on this house. So the other theory was like, maybe it's a neighbor who's just like a literal Karen and just pissed off.
Everyone hated them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, pissed off that there's construction happening in the neighborhood. So police kind of went around and knocked on doors and asked everyone, like, have you noticed like any extra noise or commotion coming from this house? Like, what do you think? No one like really noticed much at all. Most of the renovations they were doing were interior, so there wasn't much going on outside, and everyone said that there's not really any noise, and like if there is, like, it's not much and we don't care.
That might be annoying if you were really going to be a Karen about it. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, being on the same street of a house that looks nice and is nice on the inside brings up the value of your house too.
Definitely. And so like from what the police could figure out, like, no one seemed like they actually cared. Something else that stuck out to investigators was the mention of the couple's daughter painting on an easel. That easel was on the back porch. Nobody could see the easel from the street. You would have to either be directly behind their house, and I don't know if there is a driveway, but I don't think that part was like really accessible to the public.
What was behind their house? Was it like
there was another yard and another house, so there's kind of like, I think, yards backed up to yards, sort of, and there might be a driveway between them. I'm not sure. It doesn't. I looked at pictures of the house. I don't think it has a garage out front, so there probably is some kind of a driveway, or you could see the easel from one of the houses directly next to the Broadduses' house. One day, the Broadduses decided to have a barbecue to meet their neighbors. And again, they still hadn't told anyone about the letters. At the party, Derek started talking to someone who lived 2 doors down from them. And they mentioned the family who lived between them, so the house directly next to the Broadduses. And the person who lived there is Peggy Langford. She's in her 90s, and she lives there with several of her adult children, all in their 60s. And this person at the barbecue kind of mentioned them, and they're like, yeah, they're sort of weird. Like, they're harmless, but they're strange. One of the sons, the youngest son, Michael, he was kind of described as like a Boo Radley type. Like, he didn't work. He's kind of a recluse. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia when he was young and would sometimes kind of do weird things that made people unsettled. But everyone in the neighborhood knew him and knew him to be harmless. He's just kind of an eccentric guy. Mm-hmm. And hearing this, Derek was like excited because he thought, okay, good. Like, this case is solved. These interesting, eccentric folks next door. Like they can see into our yard. They can see the easel. There's a guy there that, makes people a little uncomfortable sometimes.
They don't want 3 young children living next to them. They have the motive.
Exactly. Yeah, they are done. They're old. They don't want to fuck with kids. So he called the police, and the police were like, yeah, we know. Like, we already brought Michael in for questioning. And one more thing, the Langfords had lived there since the 60s, and the dad had died 12 years ago. So remember, the watcher took over watching from his dad for part of 2 decades. And so that all lined up, and the police were already aware. But they didn't have any evidence, to do any kind of search. They brought Michael in. He denied everything. And that was kind of it. They let him go. There wasn't any reason to believe he did this besides a few circumstantial things. They again told the Broadduses, we're working on it, but probably nothing is going to happen. And there's not much more we can do. We've done everything we can. So
couldn't they just have a flag at the post office for anything sent to that address?
They could, but how would that help?
By stopping the person who comes in to send things to that address.
But how do you know they come in? Maybe they're sending it from their mailbox or a post or a box.
Damn it.
It's difficult. It's kind of weird. And they did all kinds of things.
What's the address? I'm going to look up the house.
657 Boulevard in Westfield, New Jersey. The Broadduses didn't feel like they were getting enough help from the police, so they kind of started to take on the investigation onto themselves.
I would hire a private investigator.
They did. Before they did that, Derek became just obsessed with himself catching the watcher. He installed webcams all over the house to see if anyone was breaking in.
Full dad mode.
He went full dad mode for sure. He'd spend nights crouched in the house, with all the lights off, looking out the windows to see if any cars were driving by.
Oh my God.
And like you suggested, they did hire a private investigator. That person ran background checks on all the neighbors, including the Langfords, and they didn't find anything. Derek had a friend who was a former FBI agent, and he reached out to her for her help.
Pull out the big guns.
It was certainly and she was the big guns. She was, and I didn't put this in my notes, but she's the person who the detective in Silence of the Lambs is based on. So she's a pretty famous FBI agent.
Dang.
She has some clouty, if you will. She analyzed the letters and found several old-fashioned ticks that indicated an older writer, kind of the pattern of some of the things that there were double spaces after the sentences, things that you would be taught how to write letters in a long time ago,
Yeah.
The letters were also written really nicely in kind of a literary cadence, making her assume that this is someone who reads a lot. Another thing that stuck out was how the letters didn't use profanity despite conveying a lot of anger. This is a weird thing, and to her, it suggested that this could be a, quote, less macho writer. Or we find out later it could be a woman because DNA analysis on the letters revealed female DNA.
A woman.
A woman. Women aren't creepy. No, we are.
So creepy and so dramatic.
So dramatic.
Both fit.
She did this analysis, and her conclusion was that this person probably isn't dangerous. They definitely seem a little unhinged. There's a lot of anger. There's erraticism in some of the typos that is unsettling, but she didn't think that they'd actually do anything. This person had a lot of anger. The letter writer had a lot of anger directed towards the wealthy. They clearly didn't like new people moving into the town. There's a quote that says from one of the letters that says, "Are you one of those Hoboken transplants who are ruining Westfield?"
Oh my God.
They were also, like we already know, upset over the renovations.
Old money versus new money.
That's right.
Fight.
They
They just have a neighborhood fist fight.
Right. Just
That'd
fight
be
to the death.
So cool.
I have
take the easel and break it over one of
oh my
their
God,
heads.
the construction equipment.
Yeah.
We should have hid it away. I have a long quote from one of the letters. It says, The house is crying from all the pain it's going through. You have changed it and made it so fancy. You are stealing its history. It cries for the past and what it used to be in the time where I roamed its halls. The 1960s were a good time for 657 Boulevard, when I ran from room to room, imagining the life of the rich occupants there. The house was full of life and young blood. Then it got old, and so did my father, but he kept watching until the day he died. And now I watch and wait for the day the young blood will be mine again.
Wow. So that makes me think that maybe whoever it is, their father worked in the house and she tagged along. They tagged along.
Yeah, that's exactly the theory. So the FBI agent suggested looking into past housekeepers. Like you said, like it was probably someone who worked in the house. This person has clearly been inside the house. And maybe it's a past housekeeper who this was their dream home and they were jealous that they couldn't afford it and the Broadduses could. They clearly are pretty bitter toward the wealthy. Despite this suggestion, the focus of the investigation stayed on the Langfords. The Broadduses sent the Langfords a letter announcing that they're planning to tear down the house. They didn't mean it, but they were hoping to spark some kind of a reaction. But the Langfords didn't seem to care. Like, they never heard back from them. Nothing ever happened. Police questioned Michael Langford again, and the Broadduses' lawyer met with the family lawyer of the Langfords. This meeting grew kind of tense. The Langfords were just like fed up and accused the Broadduses of harassing them and accused the police of harassing them. And rightfully so.
If it's not them, then that's a bit much.
Yeah, it's totally a bit much. And like they are like just like a recluse kind of family that wants to mind their own fucking business. And
yeah, they're like, I literally don't care if you tear the house down.
Yeah, it does not affect me. So I can see why they'd be pissed. And after this happened, it really seemed like they needed to start looking into other suspects. The private investigator had found 2 child sex offenders in the neighborhood, and the Broadduses' house painter noticed something strange as well. He noticed that right behind them, like the neighbors directly behind their house, had a pair of lawn chairs that were suspiciously close to the Broadduses' property line. And one day the painter was painting the house and he looked back and there was an old guy sitting in one of the chairs just watching the house. And to me, I'm like, he's allowed to sit in his yard, like on a chair. Like, you're not going to have the chair facing your own house. That's weird.
Yeah, you can get better sun, I'm sure, in some spots, something. Yeah, that doesn't seem too weird to me.
No, me
but
either.
If you're looking out and just waiting for something.
Exactly. It seems like people were kind of just grasping at whatever they could because it was such a mystery. None of these leads panned out, and by later in 2014, things were looking pretty hopeless. I think this was about 5 or 6 weeks later. Derek, is in like a last-ditch effort, had the house blessed by a priest. And after the blessing, the Broadduses received another letter. Quote, 657 Boulevard is turning on me. It is coming after me. I don't understand why. What spell did you cast on it? It used to be my friend, and now it is my enemy. I am in charge of 657 Boulevard. It is not in charge of me. I will fend off its bad things and wait for it to become good again. It will not punish me. I will rise again. I will be patient and wait for this to pass and for you to bring the young blood back to me. 657 Boulevard needs young blood. It needs you. Come back. Let the young blood play like I once did. Let the young blood sleep in 657 Boulevard. Stop changing it and let it alone.
Turns out it's the devil. The devil's writing the letters.
I mean,
Case closed.
Maybe like it's weird how this kind of thing, like it's brushing up between supernatural and real.
I'm like, you're so emotional. First you hate us, now you're asking us to come back.
It wants them in there. It hates them that they're changing the house, but it wants them to move in.
So it can kill them?
Yeah, we're unsure if it's because it wants to kill them or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I want tortellini on my plate. Does the tortellini want to be on that plate? I don't know.
Oh my God,
Same
I
thing.
need tortellini.
Sounds so good.
Yum.
My mind is hardcore stuck on mozzarella sticks.
Me too.
That is a promise I can keep when we get back.
Keep that promise. I have marinara sauce too. So
I do too.
Yes.
And I got some more dill ranch.
Oh my God.
Yep.
I'm so hungry.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm so hungry. Finally, the renovations were finished. An alarm system was installed, and it was time for the family to move in.
I would not. I would be like,
No.
all right, we renovated it. It's now worth $1.6 million. We're selling it.
I think the thing is though, like when you buy a house and take out that kind of a loan,
They're
and
house
then
rich.
You can't get another loan for another house, and you have it's just like it becomes
We're
like
renting.
a financial it becomes
it's a shit
a
fuck.
shit fuck. So, and also like by now rumors are starting to circulate, like people are scared of the house. It just has become a whole thing. So they're still considering moving in. Derek was looking into buying a couple of trained guard dogs for the house, which that seems like a good idea. He was looking at some German Shepherds.
Yeah.
This is a worse idea. He posted an ad on Craigslist wanting to hire a military veteran to work out every day in the backyard and just look intimidating.
That's awesome.
That is pretty cool. Yeah.
I feel like
something.
it's maybe not the worst idea.
It's
but
funny.
also not the best idea. And I'm like, how much money do you have? You're just gonna
Are you
pay
going
someone
to
to work out all day?
This
Right.
person why you're there?
Yeah. The ad said they wouldn't have to do anything except work out and look intimidating. So
Yeah, just
don't
some
know.
kickboxing. If anyone shows up, delivers any letters, looks weird,
And
is
all the
watching us
neighbors
with a
are
lawn
like,
chair.
who is that old guy kickboxing in your backyard and why?
Their next letter is, who is that man? Is he your uncle? I see your uncle is visiting. I hope you're swell. Yeah. He's very ripped. Is he
He's
single?
very hashtag intimidating. Is he single?
I am the watcher, and let me tell you, I'm going to watch.
Yeah, no, multiple people are just watching the house
XOXO, the watcher.
with like a lipstick kiss.
XOXO, watcher girl.
One night, Derek got a notification on his phone that the alarm system at the house was triggered.
Was he there?
No, they were at their house. They still hadn't moved in.
Oh, okay.
So he grabbed a knife and drove over to the house.
Like you do.
Like you do. You
don't
don't
call
call
the
the police.
police.
You just go over there to deal with it yourself. I think at this point, like he's like, the
He's
police
like,
aren't going to help
"Fuck
me.
the police."
Fuck the police. Fuck the pigs. And he drove over to the house. He searched the house. He didn't find anything, but this would keep happening. The alarm would go off seemingly for no reason. This is like obviously very unsettling, and the family just ultimately couldn't bring themselves to move in. Like Maria was in therapy at this point. Like she was having extreme anxiety over this, understandably.
I'm having extreme
Yeah.
anxiety over this.
Everyone was just like shook. They couldn't do it. They decided to just like bite the financial bullet. They put the house up for sale. They tried listing the home at market value, but by now there's all these rumors, like no one wants to live in this haunted house. And Derek and Maria seem like good people. They didn't feel right selling the house without disclosing the letters. And as soon as they showed people the letters,
like,
people were
F
scared
no.
away. Yeah, they're like, F this, absolutely fucking not, which, yeah, makes sense.
It would be like a Nathan Fielder bit where it's like, you have to sell this house, but you have to show them these letters first.
Like, can you imagine you're having a meeting with your real estate agent and they're like, before you put in an offer, like the homeowners want you to read this letter, and you think it's going to be a letter being like, we just loved growing up, like raising our kids in this house. And then it's like, I'm watching you and I'm going to drink your children's blood in the basement.
Young blood, give me the young blood.
It's
I
so
have to
fucked.
stay young. Chocolate. I remember chocolate. I hated it.
Yeah, so they couldn't sell the house. They got some like really lowball offers, but they just couldn't afford to take that kind of a financial hit.
Well, are they millionaires or not? Come on.
Doesn't seem like it. They ended up filing a lawsuit against the people that sold them the house, the Woodses, saying that they should have disclosed the letter that they received.
They should have done that.
Which they should have, but like,
It's not worth a lawsuit.
yeah, it seems like they didn't, their letter doesn't sound as threatening as the ones that the Broadduses were getting. And who knows, like maybe they were hiding it, but it sounds like they just thought like, what the fuck? Like this came to the wrong house and threw it away. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really fair, but they were desperate at this point. And it sucks for them because the lawsuit actually backfired because a reporter found the complaint that had been filed. And in that complaint, it contained a snippet of the letters. So they were able to write a story on it because up until this point, no one knew why the Broadduses weren't moving in. And now it became a huge story.
But some people knew because there were rumors and they couldn't sell the house.
There were rumors about why they couldn't sell the house, but like it was like something's
okay.
wrong with this house.
Yeah,
not,
they just
they're
bought
getting
it
creepy
2
letters.
months ago.
Uh-huh. And this story ended up going viral. It made its way to the Today Show, and a media circus ensued. There were now news trucks parked in front of the house 24/7. The Broadduses received 300 media requests, and they denied all of them. They did not want this kind of attention. Internet sleuths were now all over the case. I'm sure you can go on Reddit and read all kinds of theories. People were analyzing Google Maps Street View, like looking at whatever they could. Despite the continued investigation by the Broadduses, the culprit could still not be found. The DNA on the envelope did not match any of the Langfords or the Woodses. One time, a car did stop in front of the house for like a suspicious amount of time. And at that point, someone like, I think the police or the PI, I think it was the police, were staking out the house and they took down the license plate of this car. They were able to trace it to a young woman who lived in a nearby town, and they called her, and she told the police that her boyfriend was into dark video games and he played as a character called the Watcher. So they're like, got him. But that they didn't really have any evidence, so they couldn't compel him to come in for questioning, and he didn't go in.
So was she looking at the house just to be like, do her own little investigation?
I don't think she knew anything. I don't think she like at least didn't say that she knew anything about it. And I think the assumption is it would have been the boyfriend in the car that's registered to her, you know?
Oh, I see.
If
okay.
he was doing
yeah.
this, it might have been him watching the house.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I stop in front of random people's houses to like send a text message or like look something up on Google Maps. Like,
oh yeah,
it's not that weird to just stop in front of a house. So who knows? It could
you
be
picked
a
the wrong
coincidence.
house, buddy.
Seriously.
The police immediately shoot anyone.
Oh my god. Yeah, they
Wouldn't be
set
that
up
far
like
off.
automatic guns to fire at like anyone who stops in front of this house.
Why hire a retired veteran when you can just automatically shoot people? This is America.
Right. And it's interesting, Hayley, earlier that you said maybe it's the dad, because now all these rumors were circulating that the Broadduses had sent the letters to themselves.
If I had to take a bet, I'd say it's an inside job.
Yeah, that kind of became like the talk of the town. People were saying like maybe they wanted a movie deal, or maybe they realized they couldn't afford the mortgage and were looking for a way out. And
It's a bad way to get out. That would be kind of stupid.
Yeah,
Because now no one wants to buy it.
it just seems like too much.
Yeah.
And Maria had like full on PTSD at this point. Like she was really struggling. They were now struggling financially. Like if they were trying to make money off of this and they did it, like it backfired completely. Like now they're under this rock, and they were kind of like socially exiled from the community because now all this negative attention was on Westfield. And people didn't like that. John List, I think, he murdered his family in that same town years earlier.
Okay.
And they had just kind of gotten away from that. And now all of a sudden there's this like new scandal plaguing this nice community. Exactly. And so people are pissed at them. And it really sucked for Maria because she had grown up there. This was her community. And now all her neighbors hate her and are assuming that they did this themselves. I don't think they did, but it would, be the easiest solution.
They wouldn't deny all those media inquiries if they wanted a movie deal.
That's my feeling too. Like they really seem like they don't want anything to do with
Maybe it
this.
wasn't for that. Maybe if it was Derek, maybe he wanted out of everything.
Maybe, but then like why why buy the house? Why start all these renovations?
Why do people do the things they do instead of just being honest and being like, I don't think I want to be with you anymore?
But like the DNA stuff too, I feel like they would have pegged the,
female
this is your DNA.
So it
Right.
was female DNA.
And it's just weird. And I didn't put this in my notes, but Derek did end up sending anonymous letters to his neighbors. I just didn't put it in because it was like a whole nother facet to this that I didn't feel like I had time for, but it got so bad they were being like harassed by the community. So he sent anonymous letters saying like, leave the Broadduses alone, essentially. And
or I will get
didn't
you.
sign them. And then he admitted to a reporter that like he's the one who sent that. So I don't know. It's wacky. And they were clearly traumatized by this whole experience. They were in therapy. They were like getting medication, I think. And it was just like a fiasco. I don't think they did it. So now, their neighbors are against them. Derek really wanted to leave Westfield and start all over again, but Maria really pushed to stay. She'd been there her whole life. They bought another home in town, so they did stay in Westfield, and they rented out 657 Boulevard to another family. And
there you go.
This family knew about everything, but they were renting it at a good deal, and they had 2 big dogs. They figured, they'd be fine. One day, Derek stopped by the house to do some maintenance. I think squirrels were in the attic, and so
What?
so he went over to deal with that, and the tenant handed him a familiar-looking envelope. It read, "Violent winds and bitter colds to the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife, Maria. You wonder who the watcher is? Turn around, idiots. Maybe you even spoke to me, one of those so-called neighbors who has no idea who the watcher could be. Or maybe you do know and you're too scared to tell anyone. Good move. I watched by the news trucks that took over the neighborhood and mocked me. I watched as you watched from a dark house in an attempt to find me. Telescopes and binoculars are wonderful inventions. 657 Boulevard survived your attempted assault and stood strong with its army of supporters barricading its gates. My soldiers of the boulevard followed my orders to a T. They carried out their mission and saved the soul of 657 Boulevard with my orders. All hail the Watcher." And it went on in the letter to make threats of revenge. Quote, "Maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away but makes you feel sick day after day after day after day after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet. Loved ones suddenly die. Planes and cars and bicycles crash. Bones break." The Watcher.
So now they're mad because they didn't move in.
Yes. They wanted that young blood, baby.
Is it supernatural?
I don't know. It's
Do we get
definitely
any
weird.
answers?
That was the last anyone heard from the Watcher, at least to my knowledge. And the town has all but moved on. Most residents say they rarely think of the Watcher anymore. The Broadduses are still in Westfield. The children are occasionally teased in school, and the family still rents out the home to tenants. The rent is not enough to cover the mortgage, so they're still kind of operating at
Just losing money?
I guess it's not technically losing money because I'm sure they'll be able to sell the house in the future, but they're still paying the mortgage and the mortgage on their new house, so that's got to hurt. The Watcher is now like a spooky story that children tell their friends and dare each other to walk by the house, but the Watcher is still out there.
Ew.
Probably still watching.
Probably. And this isn't something that happened like in the early 1900s. This is recent.
This is just a few years ago, yeah.
Ew,
Yeah.
I hate it.
Isn't that so
I hate that we
fucked
don't
up?
have any answers.
I know. I hate that too.
So it's
I know.
probably one of their neighbors.
Probably. Most likely.
Why,
But
though?
why? It's so weird.
Why though? So somebody's watching from their house with binoculars
Uh-huh.
and they have nothing better to do.
I guess not. Like this whole story reads to me as like a creepypasta, But like it happened. And so like I wonder if it's just someone who like writes creepypastas and like tried one out in real life, you know, writing these letters.
Oh yeah, that'd be funny.
To me, that's what it seems like some kind of a person who just like playing a prank that got out of hand.
It was all just letters. It was, I mean, obviously they did threaten them.
Yeah.
And it was really creepy.
Oh,
but
it's
they
not
never
cool. Like
acted out. Anything.
Right, but they like ruined these people's lives, like gave them horrible anxiety and PTSD and trauma and ruined their financial situation. Like it caused serious consequences, but I don't know. To me, that seems like what probably happened. Like maybe it was the guy who was into that video game and he's just someone who spends too much time on the internet and thought it would be like funny to prank rich people.
Yeah,
like
could be.
I don't know.
It's like, I don't care about you. You don't care about me until I'm the watcher.
Exactly.
Oh my God. No wonder you wanted to double check our doors before we left.
Yeah, this story spooked me the fuck out. I thought it was really creepy. So I hope
sure all of our blinds are drawn tonight. I don't want anyone looking in ever.
I know. I always leave blinds and stuff open. I never even think about someone looking at me, but now I will.
You know what I would want to do is get like military grade like infrared goggles and like look at all the neighbors' houses and see if there's like a glowing figure like in any of the windows at night.
Yeah, you could probably tell the way they're standing too just by their outlines if they're holding something up to their eyes or bending over into like a telescope.
And get like a termite tarp to go over the entire house so you can look out but they can't look in.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that'd be cool. You're onto something. You get a letter. How dare you get rid of the termites?
How dare you fumigate my house?
I told you what was in those walls. You take it for granted.
I want to know what's in the walls.
Me too. I mean, they renovated and stuff.
Yeah.
I can't imagine they didn't tear down any walls.
I know. I want to know. I want to know so many more things, but I think this family has purposely tried to keep it pretty private, understandably, but with the new Netflix show coming out, maybe there'll be more information.
Oh, yeah, there has to be. Do you know when it comes out?
No, I
and
need
it's a
to look it up.
documentary?
I don't know if it's a documentary or like a drama based on it. I didn't really look into it. I found this story and that's why We Drink shared on their Instagram story that they're making a movie about this. I don't know if they've covered this. I don't remember, but
they probably have if they
maybe
shouted it out. Yeah. They have so many episodes, so who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, so apparently Netflix is doing something. Check that out. My sources were the U.S. Census Bureau, just to get the median income. And also...
that was my main source I was talking about earlier. I didn't want to give anything away.
No, I got like all of this from an article on The Cut and it's called The Watcher. A family brought their dream house, but according to the creepy letters they started to get, they weren't the only ones interested in it. I kind of felt like that title gave the entire thing away.
Yeah, you could have just read that title and you would have had the same reaction.
You're right.
Just wasted so much of my time.
Exactly. And that's by Reeves Wiedemann. It was a really good article. It was long as fuck. I did not include a lot of the details, so go back and read it if you want to learn more. It's interesting stuff, and that's my lesson on The Watcher. Happy Halloween.
Happy freaking Halloween. I loved it so much. Thanks for telling the whole thing, because I don't think I could have waited for part 2 if you decided to split it. And we're still on time.
Yeah, look. That's
yeah, look at that. Man, we're
right
on the money.
Right on the money.
Killing it.
We got that internal clock.
Good job, Kat.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you guys so much for listening. Remember to join us on October 29th on Patreon. Follow us on social media. Tell your friends about us. Rate, review, and subscribe. We're at 95 reviews. It'd be really cool if we could get to 100. So if you haven't left one yet on Apple Podcasts, please consider it. We love that. And most of all, just thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of the fam. We love you so much. And 3, 2, 1, class dismissed.